We're on? Really? Okay, then my browser is just a bit late. We are live after a lot of struggles. One camera decided to not cooperate today, so we needed to get a new one, and there was a lot of, well, mishappenings along the way, but finally we are here. Where to begin? My mind is a little bit lost right now, but let's see if I can catch up. So, welcome everybody to the monthly Expa Meetup. Really glad to see you here. We are here in the aftermath of a very exciting and productive Digi and Game Center recruitment day where we had awesome collisions between the University of Applied Sciences students and local companies coming together and making most of the opportunities with the internships. And this is something that we are planning to continue from now on annually and just grow the event even bigger and bigger. Even today the whole center was full, so let's see what we can do next year if the capacity just keeps on growing. The whole center was full, so let's see what we can do. And I hear myself in delay, so just keeps on growing. The whole center was full, so let's see what we can do. And I hear myself in delay, so just keeps on growing. All good? And I hear myself in delay, so yeah, no audio going on around here. So yeah, okay. Sorry about that again. But yeah, in addition to that program, we have an exciting meetup coming today. But yeah, in addition to that program, we have an exciting meetup coming today. But yeah, in addition to it might have been my phone. Not sure. I need to follow up on the questions, but it's muted now. Not sure. I need to follow up on the questions, but it's muted now. Little technical issues. Just a couple of more seconds. I need to follow up on the questions, but it's muted now. Couple of more seconds. And testing. Seems good now, although it came with a delay before. But yeah, let's try again. So we've had a fantastic day despite the technical difficulties. Happy to see you here. And yeah, we are now ready to move on to the second part of the day's program, which is the meetup. And we have very exciting things going on in there as well. The Expa Meetup is brought to you by our Digi and Game Center partners, which are the Uni of Applied Sciences Jyväskylä, Business Jyväskylä, Jahaha, Fingersoft, DeskMe, Celtimil, and Keski-Suomen Konttori.Piste. So yeah, to warm you up for the coming talk, I'm excited to ask you that hands up if you know what is cloud gaming. We see like 80% of the hands, okay. Now, do you know what is cloud native gaming? Like 80% of the hands, okay. Yeah, less hands. So, for this purpose, we have a very cool visitor or speaker in our stream today, Antti Sartanen from Return Entertainment. Antti, let's test your audio as we go, and welcome to the stream. How are you?
Thank you very much, Wanda, and I'm very happy to be here. Thanks a lot for having me. Let's see if I hear myself in my own voice in my head, but we'll see about that.
Yeah, at least in our side, everything is working nicely. Your audio is smooth. I can definitely tell that you have some professional mic business going on there, and there is no delay or echo, so all seems good. So perhaps with all this delay, I won't take any more time at this point, but give the stage to you, Antti. Please introduce us to the exciting world of cloud native gaming, and we can have a discussion after that. And for everyone who has any questions about the topic, please write them to the Twitch chat already during the presentation, so I can pick them up when we enter the Q&A. But now, Antti, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Wanda. So before I jump into the difference between cloud games and cloud native games, I'll briefly introduce myself. So, as you heard, my name is Antti Sartanen. I'm the co-founder and CEO here at Return Entertainment. We do cloud native games, which I'll get to in a minute. My background in the industry is over a decade, building games, and started up in a small startup called Supercell way back in the day, 2011. And some of you might have heard of it. After that, founded my own VR game studio in 2017, and then joined Return Entertainment in 2020. So been here for almost 3 years now, running our exploration into cloud gaming and cloud native gaming. I'll jump into the presentation. So I'll hopefully give you a better idea at the end of this. What is the difference between cloud game and cloud native game? And yeah, well, we can just jump into in. And as from the gathering of hands, as we had just a minute ago, I think most people have an idea what cloud gaming is, and what most people think of this as having some sort of like streamed game into your device. It might be a game coming from a cloud gaming platform, and this typically happens through subscription service. Everybody probably knows Stadia, that famously went down a few months ago. Amazon Luna, this kind of services that allow users basically to stream games to their device without the need of downloads and installs, and basically allowing you to remotely access those games that you really want to play, and access to library without the need for expensive hardware and so forth. And the library usually consists of existing titles just made available to the cloud. So basically old games streamed, and that's pretty much how we understand cloud native today. And really what kind of is the state of the cloud gaming today feels like the early mobile, when the App Store opened and people kind of went like, hey, this touchscreen is very interesting, and I would really like to, make games for this device, but how do you make mobile games, and like, how is the user experience going to be like? And a lot of people started by putting Facebook games into mobile and calling that mobile gaming. And as we now know, it's a very different story these days, and it took a few years for people to figure out how do you actually make mobile games, how to, like, what shouldn't you do? You shouldn't treat this as a just another platform for old games, flash games, Facebook games, but you should actually build these games around what's working on this platform, or what are the advantages of this platform. And we kind of like want to do the same with cloud, and our purpose is really to figure out what are the experiences that we can run in cloud, like what are the advantages we can really take advantage of, how do we circle around maybe some of the issues, how do we solve things like latency, scaling, these kind of things, and more importantly, like how do we bring something new here? How can we make something that is bigger, that is more shareable, more viral, something more flashy? How can we run bigger worlds, more people? Like, what are the games that we can actually make if we can like let go of the previous limitations and embrace the possibilities of this platform? So this next image briefly captures that. So we can see that in a traditional model for gaming, you have, PC, mobile, console. You have an executable file that you just run on your native device, and that's about it. Plug it into TV or whatever. And as we've entered this like first stages of cloud gaming, the cloud gaming services, PlayStation Now, Xbox Game Pass, Stadia, Amazon Luna, you know, these kind of like services that, yes, they are cloud gaming services and they are cloud games, and you can like skip this download part, and you don't need installation. It almost delivers on this promise of hey, I can play this on pretty much any device and anywhere, but it kind of like falls a little bit short on some of these issues, like okay, like it needs to support like a lot of devices, and how do you conform controls to different devices, and it's basically it's still a kind of a box where you put old games in. It's just a new way of experiencing an old experience. And that's where it kind of gets interesting when we start thinking about how do we build games that are cloud native, that are made for cloud. Like how do we need to design these games, and like what is exactly possible here. And here's, like, we've just highlighted a few things here. So obviously you tap into much more processing power. You can do bigger worlds, bigger player counts. The very cool thing is just like one-click access. So the idea of like having just a link and clicking that, and boom, like the game is here, the game is running, you are playing basically in a few seconds without any other steps. And this is something that some of the like older cloud gaming services didn't really figure out, at least until late. That, like, how do you bring down the barriers, because they basically just invented platforms where you could play a game on almost any device, and then and anywhere, and then just put like lots of paywalls and limitations around that you need to have a controller, and you need to be a subscriber, and no, you cannot play with your friends because they are not subscribers, and so forth. And we really believe that cloud gaming should be all about like breaking those barriers down, and giving access to people and letting people play, and so like democratizing gaming in a big way. I'll get to more of that in a minute. But yeah, basically, like active viewer has been one of the things that we have been exploring in the last few years. Can we use this like two-way streaming to make very interactive viewing experiences? And for example, if you're watching this on Twitch, maybe there could be even you could be watching somebody play, or even a live feed of a persistent world of a game, and you could just mess around with that, and do actions in there through the Twitch interface, and maybe even have kind of like a play button there, and you click that play button, and boom, like you're playing right now in a second. So that's something we can easily do, and make, for example, like collective Minecraft experience where people are building a lot of stuff in this pop-up 3D editor, and putting it in a world, or giving it to a streamer, and that kind of stuff gets very, very exciting very fast. And possibilities there are just starting to be explored. And obviously, with it's a like true cloud native experience, it should be totally platform agnostic, and cross playable experience, so you can jump in on a tablet or a phone or a TV or PC. So that's very much our goal, at least when it comes to this. And there are no real like examples of cloud native gaming out there, and we're one of the first pioneers in the world, I guess, doing this. So there isn't a right way to do cloud native games, and I'm sure a lot of different people and a lot of different companies are having different ways of approaching this. I can talk briefly about our experiences in here. How do we approach and think about approaching cloud native gaming? But it's a very much untouched field, kind of like well, my previous startup was in virtual reality, so a lot of the rules haven't been written by the time we are doing these things. So it's a lot of trial and error at this point. But yeah, how is the cloud native gaming then? Like as a player, like what am I looking at? Like how does it feel? Like how do I enter it? Like what can I touch? And basically the cool thing about cloud is that you don't need to know it's cloud. Like I would very much like to personally remove the word cloud and cloud technology from so like our services that we give to the end user, because my favorite analogy is here is really Snapchat. If you think about Snapchat as the world's biggest AR app, but if you ask any of its users like what is AR, what is augmented reality, then I think a lot of them would say like, oh, I don't know, that sounds very scary, or like I don't want to use it, whatever it is. So, but the fact of the matter is that it's actually making their life better and easier every day, and they don't need to know it's AR. And I think when cloud works, you know, your friend sends you a link on WhatsApp and you click that, and boom, you're in the same game and you've all connected and you're, you know, playing together instantly. Like that's cloud gaming, and you don't need to know it's cloud gaming. It just you click it and it works, and that's kind of like the world where we want to live in, and hopefully it's a world that we can see in a few years happening, and more of this being embraced. I think what is sort of like missing between now and then is a like bridge of like very concrete solutions, like how do we get this to masses, like how do we reduce the impact of like internet connections, and how do we like support all of these devices that we need to support, and answer is one step at a time. But we need to start from somewhere, and that's all like goes into the ideology of bringing down the barriers, removing that friction, like removing that barrier. Like you can send this to your friend and you should be able, and they can then click it, and it's like the potential to be a more easier viral form is very much there. And the cool thing is that this experience can live anywhere. Like it can live in your TV, it can live in your tablet, it can live in your, you know, phone, like anywhere. On Twitch, on any so like video streaming service. Um, if it streams and if it has internet connection, a screen, it can be a, you know, gaming device. So that's the very cool accessibility factor of cloud gaming, and we really believe that that is the way forward to remove all barriers, and it's gonna be like it's not that leap into the future, but it's kind of like a gradual progress towards that, and hopefully we will know in a few years what are the so like standards of this space, and how do you monetize in cloud and stuff like this, which are problems that we are like currently trying to solve, just like they got solved in mobile games, then we need to solve them for cloud and really figure out the recipe for how do you run these in a sustainable way and so forth. And like, how do you approach cloud native games and building them? How do you design them? Because like kind of like your world is your oyster and everything's possible, but how do you like decide what makes sense and what should you do? And the cool thing is here we can, because we are a stream and we can basically be a website as well as a game, we can like start to pick things that we like from a lot of different sources. We can pick things from different genres of gaming. We can pick things from how a website works. So we can start using URL. Maybe we can, okay, cool. Maybe this is how you share the experience. You just send the URL. So it kind of works as a website, but it's a game. But at the same time, we can run, Unreal 5 on that website. Like it can be a kind of like a full-blooded gaming experience. And then we can start thinking about like, okay, sure, we're running all of this on the GPU. Do we need to run all of that on the GPU? Should the menus be, HTML5? Like, do we actually need to run Unreal to choose our settings and start the match and so forth, or customize my character? So it's very much you have to pick from a lot of different elements, and one thing that you have to also keep in mind, especially here in the early days, is latency. Like, how does latency affect your game? And this is like where a lot of the current cloud gaming services are going a bit, well, I'm not going to say wrong, but they're not really optimized for this. It's because you have games built for a lot of platforms that are very real-time: consoles, mobiles, PCs. These are all like real-time native platforms, and it's all about the millisecond accuracy and twitch controls, and you can do esports and like do first-person shooters and all kinds of games like that very easily. And now suddenly you put that on cloud, and you start crying like, oh no, like this is like I'm having latency, or there's a drain that's dropped, or this kind of issue. So it's not, especially here in the early days, it's not like one-to-one. You can't just take an old game and put it in cloud and call that like, hey, we've solved cloud gaming. Eventually we might get closer to that when the infrastructure gets better, but you need to start in the early days thinking about like, what are the game concepts we can do today? Like, what are like, okay, so maybe I can't do Fortnite, but can I do Clash Royale? Like, hey, okay, so I can deploy units here and they start running. I don't need to have a millisecond accuracy here, and maybe I can just make that into the most epic version of Clash Royale or something like that, and whatever your mind goes to. But you really need to start thinking ground up and start rewiring your brain to think with cloud instead of thinking with portals. So yeah, it's a lot of trial and error for us, and internally we've started building this, what we call a cloud native playbook of like really what to do and what not to do, and a lot of that is obvious, and a lot of that is trial and error, and I think we've are now heading to a very, very good place. At least in our company, we have a couple of products and like demonstration pieces of cloud native games that we're building. So I think we're slowly honing in on the target, but it's taken us 3 years of trial and error to get there. And we can maybe get into more of that when we start talking with Wanda a bit more. And then there are the big sort of like issues and big challenges of cloud gaming and cloud native gaming. Like how do you scale up? Like you have limited amount of GPUs and internet bandwidth and all of this. So really our approach so far has been that we definitely start with the game design. Like it has to be latency resistant and latency friendly. And then we actually made our own sort of like tech in-house, because we talked with a lot of the usual suspects of cloud gaming services that you can think of, and realize that it's just a box to run old games in, and you can't really do shareability or like this active viewer or things that we feel like are very cloud native and it's like behind the paywalls and stuff like that. So we needed to, and how do you scale that up? Because if you're just running one game on one GPU, it's not going to get you very far. So we have to also think about issues like how many games are we running per GPU, how many players are in a game at any given time, how long are the sessions. So if we have lots of players in one game and it has 3-minute sessions, we can actually run probably hundreds of players per hour on one GPU instead of just one player on one GPU. So we need to really think about the scale. Like how do we make something that is cloud native, is streamed, but is also scalable and active viewer and this kind of like streamed experiences are also one part of that. So we're very much working on these sort of like fundamental questions, and like I said before, there are no answers at this point. Like there are some early solutions, like what this field will look like in a few years. I can have guesses, but like even I don't know like what are some like technological advancements then and so like standards that are going to pop up in the next few years. And one thing that makes this very, very cool and potentially even more viral than mobile is that's like one-click conversion that I mentioned before. So you just click a link and boom, you're in the game. So this like revolutionizes the user acquisition and advertising and so forth. So if one click means that you are already a player instead of having to go through a funnel of downloading or going to the app store and downloading and booting it up and so forth, then we've seen already very good early results with one of our games that we put out to sort of like market test in a small specific region for a few months, and we already saw like quite excellent results on the conversion and very competitive pricing compared to mobile. So this is very interesting to see where this angle goes in the future, because if you can go from one click from an ad or even a Twitch stream into a player, then sky's the limit. And that really so like brings it up here, and I think we can explore this topic a lot more in a few minutes, but like it has the potential, like if we can crack these recipes, if we can have these tools, and you need some tools, you need some answers to be able to scale and take this to the masses, and there are some challenges to overcome here, and like that's part of the reason why cloud gaming hasn't exploded into everyone's everyday life. But the fact of the matter is that it's actually everyday life for a lot of people already, playing on Switch or playing on their mobiles or playing on their even their TVs and using services like Xbox Ultimate Game Pass and so forth. So this is already happening, but we need to supercharge it. We need to think about how do we take this idea of not only streaming old games and how do we start thinking about this in a terms of like what can we do, how should we do it, and then build the scale that way, and really think of the fundamentals first and not just try to brute force ourselves out of it with like more GPUs. But that's all like the primer to when I say cloud native gaming, and when we start talking about cloud native gaming in a minute with Wonders, that can like know a little bit more about what we are talking about here, and hopefully at least you got a better idea. I can talk more about our products and games and how specific they work and what we do and stuff like that in a minute. But thanks very much for listening.
I hope the mic picked up the applause. They were amazing.
It didn't, but I will imagine this in my head. I'm very grateful for all the amazing applauses.
This is a very massive vision that you are painting at the moment for us. So it's very interesting. And let me just kind of start with the very basics so that we can really get everybody aligned. So are we basically talking about games that work in the sense that the only thing that the device itself is registering is basically that a screen is tapped or a button is pushed and everything else happens in the cloud?
Yeah, basically, like the end controller that you have in your hands can be pretty much any shape, any size, and everything happens in the cloud. The feedback comes right back at you, and especially what we're doing right now. So this is kind of like going from the primer of like what cloud gaming can be into what we are specifically doing at the moment is trying to bring gaming into the televisions and we're and specifically to streaming services and TV manufacturers. So, for example, we have built in the last in the last 3.5 years of the company's lifetime, but in the last year or so, a system where you can basically you can imagine watching a series or a movie on one of the usual suspects of streaming services wherever you get your movies and series from. And let's say on the like start page or when you pause the series, there is a QR code next to the pause screen, and you can just scan that QR code, and with our games, with our platform, that like that phone that you scan that code with becomes your controller instantly, and that TV that you were just watching starts the stream like this, and you are actually playing. Like you point your phone to the screen, and boom, you are playing. Like that is all you need to do, and this would happen inside that streaming service, so we don't even need to take you anywhere else. And this is what we're working on at the moment, and talking with a lot of interesting partners about this.
Yes, that was actually going to be my follow-up question for that description that you just gave. So I take it that you are already in touch with many of the streaming services that are also looking into games actively.
Yeah, and there's a lot of interest there. Obviously, everybody knows. So like Netflix was the like first starting gun for the race, and they really like took everybody by surprise by saying like, hey, we're gonna do gaming, and now everybody else is kind of looking at, hey, cool, should we do gaming as well? And I think the answer to everybody's vision is cloud, and as you know, Netflix founded a cloud gaming studio in California. They've of course founded a new gaming studio here in Finland as well, on top of Next Games acquisition. So they have already said that they want to offer their services on all of the devices, and I believe like all of the streaming services will want to do the same. So I think this might become reality sooner than we think, actually. So
Yes.
very
Yes.
very exciting.
Definitely. Reminding everyone that I'm prioritizing audience questions, so if you have any, please write them to the stream or just raise your hand and I will pass it to Antti here from the audience. But while there are no hands, I'm okay. We have one hand. Yeah. I will repeat the question, and remember, I'm quoting. If I'm being very pessimistic, so what differs this from what was the adjective? Glorified Flash.
Okay, so in a sense of reachable anywhere on any device, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In a
I think
nutshell.
just well, I mean, if you could do everything in Flash and you could have it running all these amazing experiences, we know Flash is very shareable. You can share that with the URL, but can you run Unreal 5 on Flash? Not really. Can you do
I think
can
that
you
was a very a good example. So you kind of brought in the point.
yeah, I mean, like you can of course think of this like what is mobile gaming glorified Flash? In a way, yes, it is glorified. I mean, you could build a game in Flash. You can build a game on mobile. Mobile is just a way of experiencing that game in a certain way, and most of that is because you want to have it in your pocket. You want to have it in your hand. Um, with cloud, it's basically you can have that anywhere. Doesn't matter if it's a phone, tablet, TV, and you can basically have all of the fidelity. You can have the networking. You can have the amount of players. You can sure, like, yeah, it is a glorified Flash, in a way.
Thanks for that. I think it was a nice explanation. I will now ask one question from the chat, which is or not really a question, but a comment on like is this a technology that actually would make like full player data available, so a huge enhance in the analytics that we can run?
Yeah, I know it's actually very interesting. So and one step like before that is like cybersecurity and hacking, because obviously there is no way to insert stuff between like you and the server and your TV screen or whatever the return signal from the cloud service, whatever the end device is. So you can't actually like hack these devices. So it's actually more secure than a traditional game, in a sense. Going back to that question, actually, can you repeat the question? I got myself off the track.
Yeah. So basically, just discussing the opportunities regarding the player analytics, and I'm also had a follow-up question related to the privacy. So basically, in a usual game, when you opt out of analytics, you basically cut off the signal so that no data is transmitted from the device to the server in that sense. But if you opt out in a cloud native design, how do you kind of how would you do this or prove that you are not
Yeah.
collecting the data? How does the privacy work?
Yeah, so it's actually not that different from any other form of gaming. We have backend, we have front end on your device. It's like we can get data from the website that you are on. We do actually have GDPR in those and ask for cookie consent in those live tests that we have done in market. So you were very much able to opt out of giving us any data on any point of your gaming, basically, through that pop-up. So it's very much the same as any other entertainment. We do like one specific difference to a native game is that we of course have data from the Unreal Engine itself, like the game server, and we use Unreal, but of course, like whatever game engine you have, but we can get data from the game, and we can get data from the website that you are on at the moment, that you're playing it through. So we can actually get like two data points, and obviously you can opt out on any of these. Like it's kind of like any other service, and if this would be included in a like video on demand platform, I think all of the permissions you give to that platform also apply to the games. I would imagine.
Yeah, thanks for elaborating. I thought it might be a kind of general concern of the people, so wanted to clear on that. Now we have one other hand at the audience, so in the back. So basically, how do server costs compare to current multiplayer games of today? How much more is it? How much, like, yeah, give some analysis on that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, and server costs are one of the like big questions that we are trying to solve, and challenges that we are trying to solve. So how we are solving that is kind of like I mentioned before, like having multiple players on one GPU, having many players in one session. We have our own select technology that actually, instead of many clients connecting to one game, we actually have one game, and all of the characters and the players are inside that one instance. So you actually only have the input latency to that server, and that feed is shared to everybody. So we call it multi-stream, but basically it means that all of those actors, players inside that one server are synced real time. So there is no latency between so like peer to peer. So we can actually synchronize physics over multiplayer very accurately. For example, it's the exact same for everybody. But it is like the costs are something we need to be mindful of, and we are looking at different designs, different technologies, how we can like mitigate this. I think we will be able to, in a few years, I'm gonna say like 2 to 3 years, we're gonna be at a level where we can start actually running free-to-play games on cloud. And I think that is a huge opportunity. Like when you think about the shareability and the virality, the potential like ease of access of these games, and you add free-to-play mechanics on top of that, I think that is like a recipe for like huge success. If you can figure that out, like how do you have low enough server costs and high enough LTV, and once you reach that, it's like that's kind of like the Goldilocks zone. So we are moving towards that. We're not there yet. So obviously we are still at a phase where it does cost like significantly more than just having a native game and sending a a stream of packets. to the multiplayer server. But we're getting there slowly.
Okay, thank you for that. If we focus on the like painting the big visions here, I had a really nice discussion a couple of months ago with one of our meetup guests, Michel Nguincha, uh, about the African game market, and the sub-Saharan Africa is at the moment the world's fastest growing mobile gaming market. And yeah, this brings into mind like obviously these growing markets are the ones who are using these like mostly low end devices if you compare to like Western standard. mm, I think this brings a huge opportunity when the device limitations are kind of removed, and these kind of markets that are at our hand at the moment could really explode. Is this part of your grand design?
Yeah, it's like yes, in a like short form. Yes, it is, and we really think that because these markets have kind of like leaped over the PC era, like they went straight into mobile. A lot of them don't have this like gaming happens on mobile. It's very natural for these markets. So like India, Africa, Southern America, these kind of markets, and there is a lot of opportunity there. I know actually of one or two cloud gaming services. This is like more traditional cloud gaming services that are targeting these regions and are actually seeing a lot of success there, optimizing obviously for like lower end internet connections and so forth. And actually, this is where, but we're still talking about like old games ported on cloud. So like old mobile games, old this kind of like existing games that are not designed to be latency friendly, and like really the like next generation of cloud games, and when you and cloud native games are like mindful of the latency. And I think like when we enter these markets with like suites of games that are more latency friendly, it doesn't mean that we can go there right now and do like, hey, here's Fortnite for everybody, like but we'll get there eventually. The infrastructure will get there eventually. But even with the current infrastructure, if we optimize the games and build them around this sort of like idea that like latency resistance, then we can actually make games there today that could perform very well and give you a like super nice experience and give them the Unreal 5 graphics, on those devices, if we design those games right. So that's something they really haven't seen like before, and that's possible with cloud native gaming.
Yes, and a follow-up question to that, then obviously start thinking about feasibility, like mobile data-wise. So basically, if we think of some of the designs that you've made, how heavy is it on mobile data to play, for example, I don't know, 3 hours of a game? So is it as an experience, if we think about this, for example, the African market, something that would be affordable and feasible in that context?
Yeah, we can optimize the stream definitely, and these services that I mentioned that are already doing it in Africa and in these markets are exactly doing that. So I've heard the claim of being able to play these games with 1.5 megabyte internet connection. So we're getting to that. So like territory, we can of course reduce the resolution, we can reduce the frame rate, send rate. We can like optimize this experience for those, and we anyway, when we are doing streaming, we need to be constantly optimizing because you might be moving around and entering a different kind of zone of connectivity from time to time. So we're constantly looking at the stream and reacting to that.
Okay. Then we have some discussion in the chat about like the genres that of games that would be best suitable for this cloud native design. Obviously, you've talked a lot about the latency and like not focusing on the millisecond stuff, but something that is not so massively reactive. So, can you just give like really down to earth examples of what do you think would be the best genres of games for this cloud native design?
Yeah, absolutely. And it all goes down to like the so like expectancy of when you press something, like when you need to see something back, and that's basically the latency friendliness of the design. So for example, um, we're working on a card battler game. So you're choosing cards, you're playing those cards, and you see the epic results on the screen, and you actually see characters fighting each other on the screen, on the TV screen, and you can choose your cards on the phone, and so forth. So this type of experience is very laser friendly. We actually did a racing game where you don't drive the cars, but the AI drives the cars, but you choose the abilities, and you choose the timing and which ability, and you can upgrade the abilities, and it actually turned out pretty fun, but you need to have this like creative solutions to different problems. But of course, like games like I don't know, like simulations, some RPGs, puzzle games, like games that don't really need that twitch aiming,
Yeah,
and yeah,
yeah. Turn-based games would be also.
turn-based games, perfect. Yeah, exactly. Strategy games, as long as it's not like StarCraft, like you'll be good. That kind of thing.
Okay, okay. And perhaps continuing a bit on that, a lot of aspiring professionals and people soon to become professionals in our audience. What would you say are the things that we should be mindful of when looking out for this trend? So how can we prepare, and if we really want to ride the wave and be there to like be the early worm to no early bird to catch the worm, not early worm, but yeah. Anyway, you get what I mean. So how should we prepare to be able to kind of get the most out of this trend?
Yeah. Developing for cloud native games is it's like in its core, like if you are like a game programmer, it's probably not that different to any other game development for you. Where it gets a bit interesting is more on the back end, and being able to connect to I mean, we obviously have our own internal tools for that, and we might in the future be so like opening up our tools for other people. But once you have the tools, you need to be able to and actually even before the tools, you need to be able to connect to different backends and cloud services, and anything to do with some like AWS or Azure and these kind of cloud gaming providers. That's going to be a plus for you if you are more of a backend type of programmer. Designers, of course, you can start thinking about like more latency friendly games and so forth. I think it takes a while to rewire your brain to think what are the opportunities. So for example, it took us probably 6 months and to kind of like think with cloud, and we're still running into things that we're doing the old-fashioned way, and only realizing that we are doing them the old-fashioned way when we come up with something more cloud. But anything to do with like servers, GPUs, that's also very cool. So it's a that's on the technical side. Of course, the art and the games can be very very much similar to other games. So I think most tips there apply, and just learning Unity or learning Unreal.
Yes, thank you so much for that. And yeah, we have 5 minutes left at this point. So thank you so much for introducing us into the world of cloud native gaming and kind of opening the horizons of expanding the way of our thinking and planting some seeds, if you will. But for the last 5 minutes, I would like to return to the topic that we had earlier here in the day, which is basically young talent finding their path to world of gaming and game development. And in addition to your awesome vision and awesome company that you're running, you have a quite wide background in games, as you explained in the beginning. And we would really appreciate your tips for the people who are trying to find their first job in the industry. That's how to approach, and what kind of tips would you give to these aspiring professionals?
Yeah, my pleasure. And a fun fact, actually, I started in Supercell as an intern way back in 2011. So keep grinding and keep getting those internships as well. So it can pay off in the end. For me, my so like if we talk a little bit about how I got in there, was through obviously through hobby, through game development school, and then being in contact with GamePro. If you know the or if you don't know what GamePro is, you should definitely check out GamePro. And if you do, then apply. That was my ticket in over 10 years ago, and they still are doing it. So that is one way. So internship in other companies. We have hired two of our interns that started. We actually hired them. We don't have any position open at the moment, but it is very much a viable path to start if you can show that like you are talented and dedicated and passionate about it. So that's definitely a way. So for me, it was game development school and internships. And especially for those like aspiring entrepreneurs, like it can be a similar path as well. I would look into checking out different accelerators and incubators, including Finnish game incubator in Tampere, for example, and there's a few others. There's QS incubator in Helsinki, which is not only gaming but can include gaming, and a few others. So be brave. When I started, I didn't know anything about running a company, and just started doing stuff. Just remember to get a mentor for yourself, so you're not completely lost in the ocean of possibilities and questions. Um, and yeah, I mean, what you are doing at the moment is awesome. Like that's an awesome way to take part in these events as well. And I don't know how well you are in contact with the other sort of like game recruitment events going around in Finland, but
We're pretty connected, yes.
Yes.
Definitely with all the IGDA hubs and Expa and IGDA Jyväskylä is definitely a way to connect with the industry and find your networks and start building on that. So yeah, definitely agree on a lot of the things that you said, and happy to also say that we are looking to start another incubator here in central Finland as well. So as we know, one of our flagship companies, Zaibatsu, got born out of incubator over 10 years ago, and here in Jyväskylä, and similar activities could easily be run now in the Digi and Game Center premises as we just get the resourcing and strategies and funding and all of that in place. But it's definitely something that we can do. The situation is that we basically have like 30 people matriculating or graduating out of the game game production program. Basically, there's a huge need for us to find ways to keep the talent in the ecosystem, and in that sense, really appreciate those words, and we are looking the best or doing our best to support them in that. But yeah, for the moment, we are now running out of time. Obviously, we are over 20 minutes late because of the beginning, but it's now been an hour. So thank you so much for sharing your insight and like passionate and massive is the word vision for cloud native gaming, Antti. That was truly a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And yeah, for everybody watching at home, this is the end of the stream. For those outside, we can keep on mingling and having fun, but this is the end of the online part. So thanks for joining in. Dial in next month, always the last Thursday of the month. And yeah, thank you, Antti, once again, and hope to talk to you soon again.
Very well. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.